40 years of hiring, coaching, training staff before what I do now. And so what I wanted to do is be able to bring that talent and show people how to apply for work. When COVID hit, employers didn't have people to work. So what was happening was employers they had so much work to do with less employees. I then said to them, let me help you. I will do your interviewing. I will do what it needs. So I was able to put a few pieces on the plate with that. Did it help through all those COVID bumps? Not bad, but I think the biggest thing for me was about fear. Where do I go from here?
So you run a second business.
Yes.
So I'm going to jump into my next question because of my time. How has the cost of living affected your business? Like, you talk about hiring and you talk about, like, how does that impact your business growth?
Well, for the type of business I have as a consultant, a lot of times the jobs that I do, it's an hourly wage. So when you speak to a client about what your charge is per hour, initially that cost should have been raised a bit so I could cover the cost of living for my own household. But as soon as you mention that, let's say it's gone to $25 more an hour, I'll just pick that number. Now, before it was, yes, we would love to have you help us. Now it's, let me think about it. Because that business owner or homeowner, now they have their own worries about what things cost, but so do I. So I have lost business with less clients. So yeah, I think it's on both ends when it comes to inflation.
So I understand that you're part of a Mentoring Plus strategy. Can you tell us a little bit about that program?
Sure. I was introduced to mentoring strategy probably almost 3 years ago. And the goal was we go into schools. And I thought, this is where it's happening. Get into schools. See where the ideas are and who you can help. And I think I probably get more out of it than the students, even though I know they have fun. But they are listening. We are going in and we're being mentors. They get to ask us questions. They think that when they come out of school, they have to go into university. Well, there's a lot of times that there's many of us who did not go to university, but we chose a path which could have been 8 or 9 paths to get us to where we are today. And it opens their mind and it shows them where the possibilities are. And it is totally amazing after the Mentoring Plus is over, how many students come back to you and say, do you think you could mentor me? Or would I be a co-op student for you? And that's what it's about. It's the success of knowing that you've helped somebody. So the mentoring piece is a huge factor for our students in schools.
So during your business experience, were you able to access any government programs?
Okay, I've got 2 comments on that. One is I was not, because I don't have any employees. So there was a lot of just no, it was not applicable. Secondly, growing up, my mother always told me that, Paula, you are a Canadian citizen. You work hard. You pay your taxes. Nobody owes you anything. So what it did was, it kind of made you think, okay, I have to do this on my own. I have to try and figure this out before I push the button into asking somebody for help. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you're not used to doing it. So I think there was a fear of asking, first of all, because it was the unknown of, will I get it? And if I don't, what happens next? So at the time, no, I was not able to get anything.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to our next 6 minutes to Anita Vandenbelt. Anita, you have the floor for 6 minutes.
Lisa. Okay. It's Lisa.
It's just, you go right ahead. Yeah, you just go right
Thank
ahead.
you very much, Chair. And through you, I want to thank the witnesses for being here to talk to us today. It's really important to hear from you, and it's been very interesting so far. Wendy, did I understand your last name is pronounced Sukier? Is that right? With an S sound at the beginning. You were talking about the Women's Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub quite a bit in your opening statement. I think it's a really valuable tool, but I think it was our last session, a constituent of mine was here testifying, and she'd never heard of this, and she thought these were assets or resources that she could really use, but she was like, where is this? I've never seen this before. How do we reach people? How do we reach business owners across Canada, let them know what resources are really, available and what they can get out of them?
Really important question. Just to clarify, the Knowledge Hub is focused on linking the ecosystem players. So, for example, our focus is on connecting the women enterprise organizations of Canada, financial institutions, and so on. We don't actually provide the direct services to the entrepreneurs. That's what the local women entrepreneurship organizations are doing. So I just wanted to clarify that we do have some assets that we developed actually during COVID because it was such desperate times, like the See It, Be It campaign and the Ask Give platform. But generally, we work with the organizations that are serving the women, so Corrales and so on and so forth. What I would say is the biggest problem that we observe is fragmentation of the information. And while there's a fantastic Innovation Canada website where you can go and you can type in some information and it will tell you where things are, we need intermediaries that are in the local community that can connect women's organizations to the assets that they need. And having worked with a lot of those organizations, what I would observe, the exception might be Atlantic Canada, where people seem to play nicely in the sandbox, and they are all connected together. So if you go to Volta and you don't belong at Volta, they'll send you to the Mount, to the Women's Entrepreneurship Center. There's a lot more collaboration among the ecosystem partners, I would observe, in Atlantic Canada than, say, in Ontario. I think BC, Alberta, and Manitoba have their own particular ecosystems. But knitting those things together so that if anyone comes in one door, if someone goes to BDC and BD says, you don't earn enough money, we're not interested in you, but this is the community you're in, and here are the resources. If you go to the Mount and you go in the door and they say, no, you're not for us, you should go here. We need a better mechanism, in my view, for knitting the assets together, because I agree with you. There's tons of stuff out there to support entrepreneurs generally, women entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, and so on, but lots of people don't know yet about the sources of those services. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And sort of in the same vein, and this is probably a question for both of you, because you both touched on mentorship and training. Another thing we heard is that women feel isolated, particularly women entrepreneurs who are running their own businesses. They're often in their own homes. They don't have access to a wide network of coworkers they can get information from or support from, or even just, chit chat with, which is also important in our day-to-day lives. So how do you see, Paula, I was really interested in your idea of having a class which just specifically on mentorship, but maybe both of you can just talk about how do we alleviate some of the problems of isolation among women entrepreneurs?
Shall I go first?
You go first.
Thank you. So I love that question. I think the one thing that we have to remember is we have to lift each other up. And it has to be intentional. It's not just about, I have two friends, they just started a business. Did you hear? Oh, great. No. What you need to do is, let me connect you. So, for example, I'm part of a connector program. And what that does is, that allows me to introduce 3 of my people that I know who are very closely related to the person that the connector program wants me to meet. And that's how it's shared. So moving forward, what happens is for the next 3-4 months, listen, coffee time, everybody's got the email, where are we going? And we keep connected, because if you succeed, I succeed, right? I'm going to share your success to everybody I know. And that is how I win in helping us move forward. That's how I feel.
Wendy, you have about 30 seconds.
eHarmony for women entrepreneurs. Someone else can ask me more. But I do think we need a combination of face-to-face things as well as electronic connections, because someone may be in Hamilton and doing something that is relevant to someone in Cape Breton, and we need better ways to link those things together. I think COVID helped with the shift to digitization, but we haven't exploited it to the same extent we could.
Thank you so much. We're now going to pass it over for the next 6 minutes to Adrienne LaRoche. Adrienne, 6 minutes.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Ms. Huntley, Ms. Sukiya, thank you very much for being here with us this afternoon. You are the cherry on the sundae. Can you hear the interpretation? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is the English channel. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Adrienne? Go ahead,
Merci,
Adrienne.
Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. As I was about to say, Ms. Sukiya and Ms. Huntley, thank you very much for being with us. This is our final panel of this highly interesting study on women's economic empowerment. You're the cherry on the sundae when it comes to this study. You have raised new issues, new angles, and that's great. Thank you very much. I'll ask questions of both of you. Ms. Huntley first. You raised an issue that hasn't been raised often in this study, and that is the maternity leave provisions. Early in 2022, there was a decision by Canada's Social Security Tribunal that overturned some of the provisions of the EI program that was discriminatory against women who'd lost their jobs during or after maternity leave. Now, under the rules, a woman who lost her job during her maternity leave or shortly thereafter could not accumulate the requisite number of hours to qualify for the EI benefits. Now, can I come back to that issue? That's a federal government program, and it really requires a full overhaul. This speaks to that very issue. It's discriminatory against women. The government wanted to even appeal that decision, and it really struck me. It shocked me, in fact. Obviously, it's important to ease restrictions on maternity leave, but even to overhaul federal programs like that one to ensure that we break through those barriers that women face in accessing the labour market. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. When I think about maternity leave, when I think of moms at home with their children, if we could go back to the basics and think about the value of what the children are receiving by being home longer with their mom who has no stress, first of all. Once the children get out and they start in grade kindergarten, and I think they're probably way more ready to face new friends, to be more confident, by allowing moms at home to feel like I am fully with you. I do not have to worry about time and finances. And when you think about all the things that are affecting youth today, when you think about mental health, for sure, when you think about peer pressure, when you think about all these things, now go back to the value of what happened when they were raised by a mom and a dad who had no worries. So family was the most important. And I think the value of family has to be elevated to way more than what it is now, because parents right now are pressured. Some are actually working 2 and 3 jobs, and they don't get to spend as much time at home as they need. So something has to give. And I've often said, if you go back to the basics and you start thinking about it simplistic, sometimes a light bulb will come on and go, you know, we've been working so hard around other issues that we didn't even see it, and it was clearly in front of our face. And sometimes I think this is one of those topics.
En tant que mère d'une petite
As a mother of a 2-year-old daughter, and I'm